Hello everybody, this is Coding Atlas and today we are gonna study inheritance. Firstly, what we have here. We have a class human from the previous tutorial, and human has name, age, a method of print info which prints the information of the human, a constructor, and also a couple of accessors for age and name. Now, what is inheritance used for? What is inheritance in general? Firstly, inheritance is a very important concept in OP. For example, you're making a game, and you're gonna have multiple enemies in there. Or for example, you're gonna have a weapon, but they're gonna have different type of weapons. And every single enemy has such fields like health, damage, and so on. But they still have some distinct behaviors. For example, one enemy will be shooting, another one is doing melee attacks, and so on. But all of them have something in common, like for example, health and damage. You have like these different things are gonna be classes which are inherited from the parent class. And the parent class, for example, in the case with the enemies, you have parent class enemy, which has all the common fields and data. And the child classes from the enemy are gonna be inheriting from the enemy, and they're gonna have their distinct behaviors. So that's the actual idea of the inheritance. And we're gonna implement it by creating a class student, which will be inherited from the human. Because every student is a human. They all have name, age, and so on. But they also have, for example, the course on top of that, the semester they're in, the grades, and so on. So what we're gonna do, we're creating a new class here. And to inherit from the human, we write this syntax. So like this, we inherit from the human. We put a colon and a human, the name of the class basically. But we see here an error. What's this error about? And it is about the constructor, because human has this constructor which requires two values, name and age. But when you create a student, you don't have any constructors here. You have only the default constructor of not assigning any values. But we need this constructor because we have only one constructor in human. What we can do, we can create multiple constructors, and if we do like this, and let's say this age equals to 21, this name equals to unknown, default values basically. What is gonna happen if you create a human and you don't give him any parameters like here? Let's say human2 equals to new human without any parameters inside. It is gonna call this constructor here because it understands which one to use by the parameter amount. So here you have string name and int age. We give here a string and an integer, and it understands it needs to call this constructor. Here there is no parameter, so it calls this constructor. That's basically how it works. So we have an empty constructor. Let's see, we have no error because when we create a student, we also need to call a constructor. And when there is no empty constructor on human, it basically gives an error because we cannot create an empty object. And student is basically a human. So a student now is empty, but you can see we inherit from human, and it means that all the fields and the methods are gonna be a part of the student. However, let's say we create a constructor here, public student. And what we're gonna do here, let's say you want to change the age. This.age. Okay, let's say you want to change the age, but let's make the age private. So let's say we don't have the accessor here. We have the private age, and you want to access it here. You wouldn't be able because this is private. Private is accessible only inside of the class, but we inherit from it. So what we're gonna do, we can make it protected. And when it is protected means it can be used inside of this class and inside of the inherited classes. But we write it like this, base.age, or just age. Thing is, base keyword means that we are referencing the inherited class, the class which we inherit from, human. But we don't really need it because it understands by itself, so we can set the age here. But we're not gonna really do this, it's for demonstration how protected works. We're gonna leave it with the accessor here because we wanna access it here in the program. So what we're gonna do here, Let's say we have some fields here. Let's say it's private. GPA. We have a GPA and it's gonna be a float value. So when we're creating a student, let's say we require string name, int age, and float GPA. Now, instead of copying all this code from here, like doing like this, and pasting it here, we can do it much simpler. We just put here a column, base, and we call the base constructor by passing name and age. So we call the constructor of the human here with the name and age. And it's gonna be called when this constructor is executed. So all this code is already a part of it. We just don't see it because we simplify it with this line. So here we just say that this GPA equals to GPA. Let's try create a student and see how it works. Let's say instead of human2, we create a student1 equals to new student. And also the type is gonna be student. We pass a name, let's say not Alex, Steve, 21, and a GPA of 3.5 F, because it's a float value. So we have a student. We can call print info and it will work because we inherit it, but the problem is, you can see when we call it, we get only the name and the age. What if we want to print the GPA too? We can overload that method. We have here public void print info. Let's copy it. And let's put it here. So what we have here, I added here a keyword new. It's actually not required, but it makes it obvious that we are overriding a function from the base class. We can write it like this, it will still work, but if you add a new keyword, it means we are showing to the program that we are overwriting the human print info with this print info. And instead of printing only the name and the age, by the way, here we use the base.age, we also will write GPA right here. So now if you run the program, you can see the student prints GPA too. So we have name, age, and GPA. Okay, so that's how inheritance works. That was all for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you understood it. If you have any questions, you are welcome to ask it in the comment section below. Like the video if you want to support the channel, subscribe to it, and see you in the next one.